Democrats, I really want you guys to have a comeback and start winning again. You got to relax and not take everything so seriously. I think that's why JD is a lot more popular than Harris and anyone else.
What
this is a joke. About? It's a joke.
Wait, I'm sorry. If somebody joked about you and said, "Oh my gosh, she's drinking every single night."
Hey everyone, welcome back. So this time, Abby Phillip found herself moderating what might be one of the most ridiculous defenses of MAGA trolling we've seen yet. The debate centered on Vice President JD Vance, who's been repeatedly making so-called jokes about Kamala Harris having a drinking problem. And if you think that sounds petty, it gets worse, because MAGA pundits like Batya Anger, Sargon, and Kristen Davidson actually tried to defend it on national television. Now, Abby Phillip wasn't having it. Alongside Anna Navarro and Ashley Allison, she called it what it was, not humor, not political banter, but a deliberate attempt to demean and distract. When JD Vance takes cheap personal shots instead of discussing policy, it's not comedy, it's cowardice. But the right-wing media machine thrives on this kind of noise. It's not about substance, it's about spectacle. And what's even more telling is how quickly these MAGA pundits jumped to minimize it. They laughed it off, called it a joke, and acted like Democrats were being too sensitive. But let's be honest, if a Democrat joked about a Republican woman having a drinking problem, MAGA world would be losing its mind right now. There would be outrage cycles, hearings, think pieces, and a full-blown moral panic on Fox News. That's the hypocrisy here. When MAGA figures mock and belittle women in power, they hide behind humor. When anyone pushes back, they cry about cancel culture. It's the same double standard over and over again, cruelty disguised as comedy. And the fact that someone holding the title of Vice President of the United States is engaging in that kind of playground behavior, that says more about the MAGA movement's moral decline than any policy debate ever could. Let's dive into the debate and unpack how Abby Phillip handled this circus with more patience than most of us could muster.
Tonight, Vice President Vance is insulting his predecessor, not for her policies or for anything to do with the Biden administration, but with a smear, claiming that she has a drinking problem.
I'm envious of Kamala Harris. The reason why I've been able to do a lot is because the president trusts me and he's empowered me with a lot of responsibilities. And it's made the job a lot of fun. I mean, as much as I joke about, I kind of wish that I could sleep until, 1 o'clock, take a couple of phone calls and then, hit the bottle after that, which I think was the Kamala Harris approach to being vice president. It would be really boring.
This is really, I want to be shocked, but it's not the first time he said it. To say that someone has a drinking problem just because you or whoever else made that up is wild to me, that would come out of the mouth of a sitting vice president.
Yeah, but I mean, he called her basically garbage on the campaign trail. So I'm not surprised. What does JD Vance do all day? What is he actually doing? I don't know what he does as vice president.
A lot of podcasts.
Yeah, he seems to be on a press tour. So maybe he should keep her name out of his mouth.
You okay with that?
I think everyone needs to, Democrats, I really want you guys to have a comeback and start winning again. You got to relax and not take everything so seriously. I think that's why JD is a lot more popular than Harris and anyone else.
What
this is a joke. About? It's a joke.
Wait, I'm sorry. If somebody joked about you and said, "Oh my gosh, she's drinking every single night. She's got a drinking problem," you would be like, "Okay, let me call the lawyer up and file a defamation lawsuit."
No, I definitely would not.
You really would be okay with the vice president of the United States claiming repeatedly in public that you have a drinking problem. Let me just play what he said earlier this year about the same thing. I mean, it goes even beyond just that insinuation that he made in that interview. Listen.
You talked earlier about the role of the vice president and how it's different with each presidency. How are you doing the job differently than Kamala did it?
Well, I don't have 4 shots of vodka before every meeting. That's one way I think that Kamala really tried to bring herself into the role is these word salads, and I think that I would need the help of a lot of alcohol to answer a question the way that Kamala Harris answered questions.
What are we doing here, Batya? I mean, let's just for a second just talk about decency. Are we done with that now?
I'm kind of with Kristen. I thought it was funny.
How is that funny?
I gave him a really hard time 2 weeks ago because he excused the young Republican chat, which included the N-word and praise of Hitler. And that is the kind of thing that is not funny. It needs to be condemned. We talked about it here. This to me is just, I don't know. I just thought it was hilarious.
Democrats said that he had a thing with a
Alcoholism
couch.
is
Like,
funny.
And we thought that
He's
was
making fun of her word salads.
Not all Democrats.
And,
he said in that interview that she hits the bottle every afternoon. He said in another interview she has 4 shots of vodka before every meeting. Look, I just think it's a question of basic decency. There are people who are alcoholics, but to then just smear somebody who was the vice president, whether you like her policies or not.
This was a narrative that they ran with, Republicans during the campaign, trying to paint Kamala in that light. I feel that it's stupid and sophomoric, and there's no evidence to that, unlike the evidence that there is of the drinking problem that the Secretary of Defense had, for which there is plenty of. But I also think, look, we're getting too used to this and normalizing behavior that is simply beneath the office, right? I mean, regardless of who holds the office, there's behavior that is simply beneath the office of the vice president or of the U.S. president, and we shouldn't accept that or normalize it or laugh it off or, you know.
Can I ask you ladies what you thought of AOC's attack on Riley Gaines this week, where she said if you put this much fight into your swimming, you wouldn't have come in 5th? Like, did you think that was funny, or did that violate your sense of decency as well? Like, I'm trying to figure out where the...
Didn't she also make fun of one of the male? She said someone was short. I feel like she's gone after similar. She's had some crude.
You're talking about Jasmine Crockett.
Oh yeah. Well, there's been some crude jokes there. Just like how Gavin Newsom, who essentially just launched his presidential campaign, tweets pictures of couches at JD. Look, I don't like the humor. Women typically don't like the humor, but that's the podcast culture.
Listen,
Watching this exchange honestly says everything about where political discourse has sunk in the MAGA era. Vice President JD Vance, the second highest elected official in the country, is spending his time making recycled jokes about Kamala Harris supposedly having a drinking problem. Not policy disagreements, not legislative debates, but childish personal smears dressed up as humor. And somehow, MAGA pundits like Batya Anger, Sargon, and Kristen Davidson think this is hilarious. Let's be clear. This isn't comedy, it's character assassination. Vance has made the same drinking joke multiple times, which tells you it's not just off-the-cuff banter, it's a calculated smear. When someone in that position uses the power of their office to spread a personal narrative like that, it's not funny, it's corrosive. It chips away at the standard of basic decency we should expect from any public servant, Republican or Democrat. What's worse is watching MAGA media personalities justify it. They laugh, they roll their eyes, and they act like people who take offense are just uptight liberals. But this is how moral decay gets normalized. The more we accept "it's just a joke" as an excuse, the more the line of what's acceptable keeps moving. And when the people defending it are the same ones who lecture others about family values and respect for office, the hypocrisy becomes impossible to ignore. And you can see Abby Phillip's frustration in real time. She's not outraged because of partisanship, she's outraged because this level of disrespect cheapens the entire political process. Mocking someone's supposed drinking problem when there's zero evidence isn't just mean-spirited. It trivializes real struggles with addiction that millions of Americans face. It's cruel, lazy, and beneath the dignity of someone who's supposed to represent the country. Then there's the deflection tactic. The moment Batya and Kristen get cornered, they pivot. Suddenly, it's about AOC, or Gavin Newsom, or any Democrat they can name. It's whataboutism at its finest. Yes, it's bad. But what about them? They can't defend the behavior, so they distract. That's the modern MAGA reflex. Change the subject, never take accountability. But this goes deeper than one bad joke. It's a symptom of a culture that rewards humiliation over honesty. MAGA has built an entire ecosystem around cruelty where disrespect is seen as authenticity and bullying is mistaken for strength. That's why every insult, every smear, every mocking nickname gets cheered. It's not about making a point, it's about making noise. And as long as the crowd laughs, they think they're winning. But leadership isn't supposed to look like this. It's supposed to raise the bar, not bury it. And here's what makes it even sadder. Kamala Harris isn't the only target. Every woman in politics who dares to speak confidently gets reduced to some version of emotional, unqualified, or unstable. It's the same old playbook, dressed in new rhetoric. MAGA pundits love to claim they're defending free speech, but what they're really defending is the right to degrade women in power without consequence. Because deep down, they know a strong, composed, successful woman threatens the image of the fragile masculinity they've built their politics around. If you're tired of seeing this kind of cheap theater replace real leadership, make sure to hit that subscribe button, because the more we call it out, the harder it becomes for them to laugh it off.
The couch thing is also incredibly stupid. And
You can say it's
and
stupid, and that's been a whole
I've
panel on
said
it
that
talking
before.
about it.
I mean, I think it is beneath
So if
the dignity of our politics
if I made
to
a
engage in
joke
that kind of
about
thing. So that's not anything that I
you
have
would
a
think it
problem
was
saying.
funny.
I wouldn't sit here and say
Oh,
sternly
but hold
that we
on,
need to
though.
get back to decency.
Hold on, because
relax.
unlike with Kamala Harris, for whom there is no evidence that
No,
she
I
has
know,
a drinking
I know.
problem, with Pete Hegseth, when he was under confirmation, there was
I know, that's
several
why I'm
reports
asking
of
the
him
question.
having had a drinking problem.
But okay, JD Vance is running for president, presumptively.
Has
right?
somebody told Trump? I thought Trump was running for 2020.
And is
The only
this what
person
he
that said
thinks?
they are
Is
is
this what
Gavin.
he thinks is going to do it?
I don't know. Gavin's
The
doing
podcast
it,
circuit,
and he just launched.
You know, all
This
of
is
that.
literally what Gavin Newsom is doing.
What was funny to me was JD Vance saying that he's going to run with Marco Rubio as vice president. I'm wondering what Marco Rubio is feeling about who's going to be on top.
He's over there in China right now, while JD Vance is back here on podcast.
On podcast.
How it goes.
Being the
Everyone,
vice
thank you very
president.
much for being here.
This one might have been shorter, but it perfectly captured the emptiness of MAGA politics in 2025. Abby Phillip was right. This constant trolling, this obsession with mockery over substance, has dragged American discourse to a low that's honestly embarrassing for a country that prides itself on leadership. JD Vance isn't just being funny. He's performing for an audience that's forgotten the difference between power and pettiness. Every time he opens his mouth to take another cheap shot at Kamala Harris or anyone else, he proves that his goal isn't to lead, it's to entertain. And here's the thing, it's not even original anymore. MAGA politicians are all trying to mimic Donald Trump's insult-driven persona, but they don't have his stage presence, his timing, or his shamelessness. What they're left with is a watered-down imitation of cruelty, the tone without the charisma, the mockery without the mastery. But cruelty without charisma just comes off as mean-spirited and small. And that's exactly what JD Vance looks like here, small. If you think leading the country is boring, then you have no business holding one of the most serious jobs on earth. Abby Phillip nailed the larger point. This isn't about one comment or one personality. It's about how MAGA has turned governance into a sideshow where trolling is policy and immaturity is branding. He's just joking has become the new political shield, a lazy excuse for every outrageous statement. It's the easiest way to avoid accountability, because if people get offended, you can just say, relax, it's satire. But if it lands well with your base, you get to own it. It's a win-win for dishonesty. And you're absolutely right, moderators in debates and interviews should start calling it out directly. Ask these politicians a simple question. How are voters supposed to know when you're joking and when you're serious? Because when you run a government on sarcasm and deflection, no one can trust a word you say. That uncertainty isn't leadership, it's chaos. At the end of the day, politics shouldn't feel like scrolling through a comments section. This constant trolling isn't strength, it's insecurity masquerading as confidence. MAGA pundits laugh, they call it humor, but the truth is they've mistaken attention for respect. And that's why they'll keep losing credibility, because eventually people get tired of being laughed at by leaders who are supposed to be leading. And here's the uncomfortable truth. MAGA isn't just normalizing bad behavior, it's rewarding it. Every time someone like JD Vance says something cruel or juvenile, and the base cheers, it reinforces the idea that leadership is about mockery, not meaning. It's performance politics, pure and simple, designed to get applause clips on social media, not to make life better for ordinary Americans. And the saddest part, that kind of politics is addictive. Once you start measuring success by how many people you can own, you stop caring about who you're supposed to serve. That's why people like Abby Phillip, Ana Navarro, and Ashley Allison matter in moments like this. They're not just pushing back against one bad comment. They're defending the idea that leadership should still mean something. Decency should still matter. And if the only way MAGA can hold power is by lowering the bar until it's underground, then maybe the rest of us have a responsibility to raise it back up. If you believe politics should be about integrity, not insults, make sure to hit that subscribe button. I'm Adam. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.